Hello, this is Matt on the Moon Lambo channel. If you're an XRP holder, I have a feeling that you're rather going to enjoy this latest Moon Lambo hot jam because it's all about the SEC being in hot water. There is, and this is self-inflicted as is frequently the case, but those asshat prick attorneys over at the SEC, they made a boo-boo. They straight up lied to the judge, causing what the judge said was irreparable harm to a company. And they now risk some serious ramifications, apparently, including potentially being sanctioned here. And this is just another defeat of the SEC under the rule of Kim Jong-Gensler. And as disgusting as it is that the SEC continues to do what it does, I take great delight and pleasure in reporting to you that it's not going so hot for them. So I'm going to share with you the latest in what's going on here, because it's just more proof, we're right. When the SEC sued Ripple, it was very obvious right out the gate that the lawsuit was not being conducted in good faith. The SEC didn't believe the crap that they were spouting. And in terms of egregiousness, this is right up there, if not worse, because, it's just, even the judge straight up called them out here. Although we did see that in the SEC v. Ripple case, right? Especially with the labels of hypocrisy and lack of faithful allegiance to the law in the SEC v. Ripple case. Oh yeah, so this is not going to surprise you, but you're going to enjoy it because the SEC is giving up a case that they filed in an attempt to get out of being in additional trouble. But I'm not so sure that's going to work out for them. But before going further, I do want to be clear, I do not have a financial background of any kind. I am not offering financial advice, and you definitely should not buy or sell anything because of anything I say or write. I'm just an enthusiast who enjoys making YouTube videos about crypto-related topics, but just as a hobby and just for fun. Now, I do have stuff from multiple attorneys to share with you in this video, but first let me do a minimal amount of table setting here to make sure everybody's caught up to speed, or else the rest of the video would make sufficient sense. Here's a headline from CoinDesk. U.S. judge warns SEC over false and misleading request in crypto case. This is from December 1st. I'm going to run through this real quick, and then we'll get right into the latest stuff from today. A federal judge on Thursday warned Securities and Exchange Commission attorneys that he may sanction them for allegedly convincing a court to freeze a crypto firm's assets under false and misleading pretenses, a court filing shows. According to an order issued by U.S. District Judge Robert Shelby of the U.S. District Court in Utah, the SEC's attorneys could be sanctioned for making misleading arguments about crypto project DebtBox's alleged efforts to transfer its assets and investors' funds overseas, leading a court to freeze the project's bank accounts. The SEC's, quote, misrepresentations undermined the integrity of the case's proceedings, end quote, in addition to causing DebtBox, quote, irreparable harm, end quote, Judge Shelby said in an order. So folks, literally what happened here is the SEC fabricated stuff, presented it to the judge reacted, harming the company irreparably, and then the SEC got found out. How do they think they're going to get away with this stuff? It's just the audacity of these pricks. See, that's the thing. They actually think they're going to get away with this because they, up until the SEC v. Ripple case, they did have something of a winning streak, didn't they? But then they got out over their skis, and they're already terrible monsters. They're not human. They're like terrible monsters. And so they just believe, well, this is what we want, so we're just going to do whatever we have to do to make it happen, including lying to judges. It's disgusting. Piece continues. Sanctions are penalties a court imposes on individuals who sign statements they know to be false or otherwise violate court procedures, according to Law.com's legal dictionary. In civil law, sanctions are usually imposed in the form of monetary fines, according to Law.com. A federal judge first slapped DebtBox with a temporary restraining order restricting its access to its assets in August. However, he later dissolved the order after DebtBox demonstrated it had neither moved funds outside the U.S. nor closed its bank accounts 2 days before a hearing over the SEC's request to freeze its funds, DebtBox's lawyer said in a filing. Folks, this is completely outrageous. The accounts frozen? Oh my God. Based on pure lies. How could the SEC possibly think they'd get away with this? But they must have. Which brings us to the news today, because it's not going so well for them, I'm happy to report. Here's the latest headline from Blockworks. SEC moves to drop debt box case for now after sanctions threats. After the threat of court sanctions, the Securities and Exchange Commission has decided to drop charges, at least for now, against Digital Licensing Inc., which operates under the name DebtBox. In November, federal judge Robert Shelby ordered SEC attorneys to explain why they shouldn't be sanctioned by the court after presenting what he regarded as false and misleading evidence in their attempt to bring a temporary restraining order against DebtBox and other defendants. The SEC was granted a temporary restraining order in August 2023 following the evidence presentation. Now, here's the most important part. In a brief filed Tuesday, the SEC said that it made a mistake and will work to ensure these errors do not happen again. You know what just popped in my head? Do you guys remember that South Park episode from back in the day? It was like, it was an Exxon Mobil where there's that, the oil spill. You know what I'm talking about? We're sorry. We're sorry. You guys know what I'm talking about, right? If you're not a fan of South Park, you'll have no idea, but it's hilarious. And so that just popped in my head. Well, we're sorry. We're sorry, Judge. They did it on purpose. They knew what they were doing. Oh, my God. Anyway, piece continues. The securities regulator asked the judge to accept a motion to dismiss the action without prejudice, which will be forthcoming as the only penalty against the SEC. Quote, while the commission, so mind you, this is from the SEC, while the commission recognizes that its attorneys should have been more forthcoming with the court, sanctions are not appropriate or necessary to address those issues. If the court were to determine that some sanction is warranted, it should decline to impose a penalty beyond dismissal without prejudice. End quote. So the SEC is basically saying, well, we straight up lied to you, but you shouldn't make us be in trouble for it. Maybe you just dismiss the case, which is what the SEC is trying to do on their own anyway. What? How is this real? How is this real life? Don't make no damn sense up in this bitch. So, Fox Business journalist Eleanor Terrett reported this. She shared this screen grab, including, this is the part that she wanted to highlight in these little red brackets here, which reads as follows. This is what the SEC submitted to the court today. Given this ongoing review, the Commission has determined that the best way to proceed is to dismiss this action without prejudice. Thus, the Commission has authorized the filing of a motion to dismiss this action without prejudice, which will be forthcoming. And so Eleanor Terrett wrote, the SEC has just filed a brief in the DebtBox case saying that it intends to dismiss the lawsuit against the company. The SEC is choosing dismissal rather than face possible sanctions from the judge for misleading the court in order to secure a restraining order and asset freeze against DebtBox. Yeah, so here's the thing. And I think I have in one of these tabs, one of the attorneys say, that's strategically not necessarily going to save you. In fact, if anything, it could make it more likely that there's sanctions. There's also this post from Eleanor Terrett. She wrote, adding to this, note that the SEC has dismissed the case without prejudice, which theoretically leaves the door open for the agency to come back and file a new suit against DebtBox in the future. Expect a comment from the judge on that. Second, if a dismissal is accepted by the judge, it doesn't necessarily mean the agency escapes scot-free. The judge could choose to impose monetary sanctions on the agency for misleading the court. And so obviously it's very Weasley. They're like, yeah, well, we straight up lied to you, but we would like to not be in trouble for it. And also we want to have the option to just start this case back up at an unknown point in time in the future. That's basically what they're doing. These people are monsters. Spawns of Satan, so far as I'm concerned. Attorney John Deaton reposted what Eleanor Terrett shared. And here's what Attorney Deaton had to say. And he tagged Gary Gensler here and said, Gary Gensler, this disgrace falls under your leadership, or the lack thereof. First, your lawyers were described by a federal judge as hypocrites lacking faithful allegiance to the law in the Ripple case. Later, an appellate court ruled your denial of a spot Bitcoin ETF was arbitrary and capricious in the Grayscale case. Despite those incredible findings that would make any lawyer or leader cringe from embarrassment and humiliation, your agency's lawyers continued to act with a complete disregard for the truth and for justice. Now you run away, attempting to shield your unethical lawyers from facing the very law they swore to uphold. Spot on, Attorney Deaton. Anybody that's unbiased just from the outside looking in can see that the SEC is just a disaster of an agency. It's just, it needs to be either just completely gotten rid of, or you have to have entire new leadership from the ground up. That's the only way that this could possibly be redeemed. I don't see, it's infected. You know, it's I don't know what it's infected with. It smells infected. It definitely smells infected. I don't know what you're going to do. It's like pussing and oozing with infection. Get rid of the people that are there that are in power. Then there's this from attorney James Murphy, who goes by Meta Lawman on social media platform X. He reposted what I just shared with you from attorney Deaton and wrote the following. Astounding. I've never seen anything quite like this in more than 30 years of representing clients adverse to the SEC. I actually think this voluntary dismissal could make it more likely that the SEC lawyers involved in the misrepresentations to the court will be sanctioned. Because, folks, if you think about it, the SEC, so they're saying, don't sanction us, though. We don't want them being in trouble. They're admitting that they made a boo-boo. So it seems that's the reason attorney Murphy is saying, well, if anything, it looks like it's more likely they're going to be sanctioned actually. And then attorney Fred Rispoli responded to that and said, agree. You have to hope Debtbox gets aggressive and opposes the motion to dismiss and instead seeks dismissal with prejudice and continues to pound the table for sanctions. Now, that would be fascinating. Like, whoa, no, we ain't throwing this bitch out. No. Not unless it's dismissed with prejudice, which means that you can't come back at us later. I hope they get aggressive and do that. It'll be interesting to see if they do. And then Meta Lawman responded, Debtbox has excellent lawyers. This will get interesting. Oh, yes, it will. So at a minimum, we here in the XRP community, we're probably pretty thrilled to see this. It's disgusting, obviously, to see yet another organization get shafted by the SEC in a disgusting, filthy manner. There is no excuse. In no way can this be justified. But it is satisfying seeing the judge come out and say, no, bitch, you wrong. That part is satisfying. My God, these people are just disgusting monsters. Winged spawns of Satan, I tell you. But it's satisfying. It's good. It's good to see that there's on this string of losses. And the next one coming, let's hope, would be the Coinbase case getting thrown out. I don't know if it's going to happen, but that would be fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. Of course, we were on the right side of history. We were right about this agency being disastrous from the beginning. It's just, that part is good. So soak that in at least. I'm not a financial advisor. You should not buy or sell anything because of anything I say or write. That would be a very, very, very bad idea. Until next time, to the moon, Lambo.